individual level, every Tibetan has to preserve their Tibetan identity, has to learn Tibetan language, has to preserve Tibetan culture. CTA, popularly known as the Tibetan Government-in-Exile. So it is the continuation of the centuries-old independent government that we had in Tibet. All the stakeholders, be it CTA, NGOs, have to engage with the young people by reaching out to colleges, institutions, schools, and building that base, and support base for the Tibetan issue. And so they really help us to reach out to those people at the grassroots level, and creating awareness about the Tibetan issue at the grassroots level among the Indian general public at large. TSB is a Tibetan Scholarship Program, and the US government, State Department, every year they support 7 Tibetans.
Unsilenced Voices of Young Tibetans is a podcast presented by the Foundation for Nonviolent Alternatives, where young Tibetans share their personal stories, experiences, opinions, and journey in exile.
Namaste, and welcome to our FNVA's podcast, Unsilenced Voices of Young Tibetans. In today's episode, we have with us a very special guest. He is currently the coordinator of the India Tibet Coordination Office, which is commonly referred to as ITCO, which brings together the Indian support groups for Tibet and does engagement with them. Furthermore, he is among the new generation of Tibetan civil servants in the Tibetan Government-in-Exile, referred to as the Central Tibetan Administration. And we shall be engaging with him on various themes, including how does one become a Tibet civil servant, what are the challenges they face, the opportunities they come across, and what is the future aspect when it comes to resolving the Tibet-China conflict. So welcome to our show, Thupten Rinzin.
SSES Damdul, and thank you so much for having me over here, and I'm really honored to be part of your show.
Thank you, Thupten Rinzin. So Thupten Rinzin, could you share with us your experience as a coordinator at the India Tibet Coordination Office and highlight what are the functions and initiatives that ITCO does?
Sure, Damdul. So it's been like 3 months since I joined this office after my 2 years sabbatical, and I was deputed to take care of this ITCO based in Lajpat Nagar, New Delhi. And over this past 3 months, my experience has been really wonderful. As you know that our office, as you mentioned before, we work with Tibet support groups in India. We have many Tibet support groups in India, and we work to create awareness about the Tibetan issue in the Indian general public, and especially among the youth in colleges, universities. And our office also works with All Indians Parliamentary Forum for Tibet, and also we make publications of Tibet-related books in various languages, especially Hindi. So my experience has been really good because over this past months, 3 months, I've been able to meet with many dedicated Tibet supporters, and I've been able to learn more about what Tibet supporters, what Indian people thinks really about the Tibetan issue. So the experience has been really great.
Indeed, Thupten, you pertinently mentioned what the India Tibet Coordination Office does, and if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, recently you were at Kushinagar to do a lot of awareness programs to the Indian supporters there. Like, what were your experience there though?
My experience has been really great. As you mentioned that a week ago we were in Kushinagar, and Kushinagar, as you know, holds a very significance for Tibetan people, because Kushinagar is the Mahaparinirvana place where Lord Buddha passed away. So it holds a spiritual significance and also a political significance. So that's why with the help and support from the Tibet support group, we were able to conduct Tibet awareness programs. We were also joined by a colleague from Tibet Museum, and we conducted the awareness programs in 4 different colleges. And the support and the response and the feedback that we received were tremendous, because as far as Kushinagar is concerned, I felt that many of the people have a basic understanding about what Tibet is, the current situation about the Tibet, because we have a monastery over there in Kushinagar, and also because of the Tibet support group. So we were able to provide the younger generation, especially the college people who attended the programs, about a more deeper understanding and enhance their understanding about Tibetan issues, especially the current situation in Tibet, what's happening over there, and why Tibet matters to India, so how they can really support our Tibetan issues. So overall, the trip has been really satisfactory.
Definitely, Thupten. And right, you rightly mentioned the supporters that we have for Tibet in India is very big, but I believe you were the one who brought this up when we last met at your office, like how there was a poll done by one of the Indian media, and how, according to their poll, it's their poll, the awareness among the general public, for that matter, it's very low. So what sort of initiatives do you think that we as Tibetans in India can carry out to bring more awareness? I mean, one small example is what you rightly did at Kushinagar. Do we need more such campaigns? Or are there any other sort of forms of engagement that we can do?
Absolutely. Damdul, see, like after we lost our countries, the elder generation of Indian people, they have seen Tibet being getting occupied, illegally occupied by Chinese Communist government. They have also experienced that. They have seen His Holiness the Dalai Lama and thousands of Tibetan people coming into India to seek refuge. And as you know that right after we lost our country, in 1959, there was a Tibet convention that was held in Calcutta, led by Jayaprakash Narayanji. So like that, like him, we have many prominent Indian leaders who unfortunately do not live with us anymore. In the past we had MC Chaklaji, Ram Manohar Lohiaji, and Sri Lingapaji, and Nirmala Deshpandeji, George Fernandez. In the past we had many Indian leaders who genuinely supported Tibetan movement. And right now, as you mentioned that as per the latest poll by one of the polling agency, the awareness in the Indian general public, especially the young people, is not as good. So it is very important for the CTA and also the concerned offices, NGOs, and the Tibetan people at large to engage with the young Indian people to create awareness. On the one hand, that India is a big nation, largest democratic nation on earth, and largest, most populated country on earth. CTA, as far as our Tibetan population is concerned in India, we have around like 80,000 something Tibetan people in India. On the one hand, CTA has been based in India for the past many decades. We have been able to reach out to quite a good number of people, but the job and the task that we have ahead is enormous. So we still have a lot of job to do in terms of reaching out to young people, in terms of creating awareness about our Tibetan issue. So I feel that all the stakeholders, be it CTA, NGOs, have to engage with the young people by reaching out to colleges, institutions, schools, and building that base, and support base for the Tibetan issue, and encouraging young people to champion the cause of Tibet, like the prominent Indian leaders that I mentioned.
Indeed, Thupten. And when you mention colleges, university, and engagement with the youngsters and the youth of India, like I remember your very organization, just a couple of weeks back, you did these two big programs at OP Jindal and Shiv Nadar University.
Yeah.
What were your experiences there, and what was the reception that you got from the Indian students there?
The response and the reception and the support were really, really great. As you mentioned, a month ago, we did a program at OP Jindal Global University and the Shiv Nadar University, and we were also joined by Tibet Museum. So the response from the students were really interesting, because the most of the students, they were studying international affairs, diplomacy, public policy, foreign affairs, political science. And so as an Indian, it is very important to understand what has happened to Tibet as an Indian. As an Indian, it is very important that what is happening in Tibet, and what is happening in Tibet and its implication for India in terms of future security issues and other aspects. So as a student of this field also, it is very important to understand and learn about the Tibetan issue and this geopolitical dimension. So the response has been really great. The students were really keen and interested to understand and learn more about the Tibetan issues. So because at that time we were joined by very great speakers like Professor Anand Kumarji, Tenzing Damdul, Professor Claude Arbiji. So students were really much interested, and I felt that we have been able to kind of like enhance understanding about like deeper understanding about Tibetan issue for these college students.
Indeed, Thupten, and I hopefully wish that you and your organization would continue on this and maybe reach out to other colleges, which I definitely know that you all plan to do. And moving on a bit, like the question that I would like to ask you next is, how impactful are the various Indian TSG groups, and what role do they play in increasing awareness about Tibet to the Indian population, because you are someone and even your office is someone which directly has contact with them?
Yeah, so Damdullah, as you know that the Tibetan Government-in-Exile, or we say that the Central Tibetan Administration, we have very limited resources in terms of financial, in terms of human resources. So we are not in a situation to reach out to every people at the grassroots level. So Tibet support groups, as you mentioned, we have many Tibet support groups at the national level, at the regional level, at the local level, at the grassroots level. So they really help us to reach out to those people at the grassroots level, and creating awareness about the Tibetan issue at the grassroots level among the Indian general public at large. And the role that they play is really important, because as you know that the democracy is for the people, of the people, and by the people, and the elected government really takes into consideration the voices of the general public when it deals with international affair policy, and also when it passes a law or legislation, whatever. So the Tibet support group, they serve as the voices of the Indian people at large. So their support and what they do is really, what they think about Tibet is really important. And the kind of campaign and activities that they engage is like, for example, on 10th March, they also do programs on His Honor's Dalai Lama's birthday, 10th December, and like this, they implement various programs, and also they also kind of like get involved with the Tibetan movement in terms of the joining the initiative, the activities initiated by the Tibetan NGOs, and also lobbying for the Tibetan issue at the state level, like by lobbying at the MPs, at the MLAs offices and all. So they try to garner support for the Tibetan issue from the general public and from also the elected government and officials and the lawmakers, and they play a very huge role.
Indeed, Thupten, and since you mentioned the very crucial role that these Indian TSGs play, I was in some ways privileged to be part of this meeting recently at Tokyo, Japan, the Asia regional meeting, and there I met one of a fellow TSG member, Sandesh Mishra, who is very popularly known as Samden La. And Samden Ishi, he also notified me that after landing to India, he got the opportunity to meet you, and he's going to carry out a big campaign. So could you tell us what campaign that is and what sort of meeting that you guys had?
Yeah, so yesterday he came to our office. We know him as Samden Hishi in our Tibetan community, and he has been carrying out that campaign for quite a few years in the past, and this year also, like from November, from Calcutta, he's gonna start his cycle yatra, to create awareness about Tibetan issue from Calcutta, and he's gonna end his cycle yatra, cycle rally at New Delhi on 10th December. That coincides with His Holiness Dalai Lama's being awarded Nobel Peace Prize and also International Human Rights Day. So we had a good discussion about like how it's going to be done, and the press coverage and the contacts that our office need to coordinate with him, because he'll be traveling, like through various places, and we need to coordinate, the kind of like the families that we were going to distribute among the, like while he is on his yatra. So we had a good meeting about how it's going to, like done, and we planned quite a few things.
Indeed, it's very inspiring to hear such initiatives carried out by our very Indian supporters, and like ITCO as an organization is further supporting them to fulfill their own projects which they carry out. And moving a bit away from ITCO, like besides working from ITCO, you're also someone who has been working as a civil servant for several years at the Central Tibetan Administration, popularly known as the Tibetan Government-in-Exile. Could you shed some light on it to our audience and tell us, how does one become a civil servant? Because that is sort of a big question that a lot of Tibetans and a lot of people around the world have. How does one become a CTA staff or a leche?
Yeah. So as you mentioned about the CTA and civil servant, for those non-Tibetan who are watching your show, just to introduce about CTA. CTA, popularly known as the Tibetan Government-in-Exile. So it is the continuation of the centuries-old independent government that we had in Tibet. And CTA is very committed and dedicated to restore freedom for Tibet, and also to look after the socio-economic welfare of the Tibetan community in exile through principles like non-violence, justice, and genuine democracy. And so I joined CTA way back in 2014, and I had this desire to join CTA, and my old parent also wanted me to join the CTA. And after completing my university education, I completed 5 months public service training conducted by the Public Service Commission of our CTA, and then I appeared for exam, and then I joined CTA. And one can join CTA through the vacancies announced by the Public Service Commission, and also there are opportunities for the professionals, and contractual vacancies are also announced for those people who want to work at CTA for quite a few years. So there are various ways you can join CTA, and the exam patterns are it's all about mainly about the Tibetan language, your understanding about Tibet, English, accounts, and politics. So it is not as tough at the UPSC, but I feel that to join CTA, more than all these requirements, I feel that one should have a right mindset and motivation to do something for the Tibetan community and to contribute something towards Tibetan issue. So with motivation, right motivation and the right mindset as the foundation, so you can really contribute for the Tibetan community through CTA, and the CTA offers a really great platform for you to make a positive change in our community.
Definitely, Thupten. And since you are someone who's been working for the CTA for several years, there certainly must have been like various challenges that you have come across, and also opportunities. So how do you see all of them?
Yeah, Damdul. So no matter like where you work, be it in corporate or company or NGOs, you always there's always challenges to face, and I feel that. Rather than focusing more on challenges, I would talk a little bit about the opportunities, because CTA offers a very good platform, as I mentioned before. I personally felt that because before I joined this office, I have worked as the program head and program officer of Youth Employment Support Section of the Department of Home. So at that time, during my tenure over there, for more than 7 years, I have been able to design, I have been able to initiate various skill training programs. I've been able to develop various new programs with the help of my team over there. And what I personally felt was these programs really benefited, touched the lives of many scores of young people. So what I felt was, if you are working in CTA, your one idea, your one initiative has a big potential to change many people's life and create a lasting and positive impact and differences in our community. So CTA offers a very good platform for the CTA staff. If you have a right mindset, as I mentioned, and if you have an idea, or if you are someone who's ready to take initiative. So yeah, the experience has been quite wonderful for me. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to the moral satisfaction that the CTA staff like me gets from doing something for our Tibetan community. It's not the monetary value that we attach importance to. It's the moral satisfaction of having done something for our community that matters at the end of the day for CTA staff like me.
Indeed, Thupten, and you mentioned like you were working for the Youth Empowerment Support Office for more than 7 years, and I believe this is something which the current Kashak also seriously takes forward to inculcate and bring forward the Tibetan youth. And you mentioned how you carried several programs. Could you, if you're allowed to, like share with us any specific project that you really like and thought this really made some change?
Yeah, for example, like recently you were part of the International Youth Conference, right? And this kind of like conferences where the CTA organizes and brings together all the young minds from different parts of the world. It's a really great initiative. And the programs like VTech, Voluntary Tibet Advocacy Group, that the current Kashak initiated, it's a wonderful initiative. And I would request, through this platform to all the young Tibetan people, wherever you live, wherever you are, doesn't really matter. If you want to do something for the Tibetan community or the Tibetan issue, VTech offers a very wonderful platform or the opportunity for you. And so these kind of conferences and the VTech, like these conferences, is really good in terms of like bringing all the young minds from all over the world together and starting. This serve as the basis, for us to do something, because unless and until we meet, until and unless we discuss something, brainstorm on ideas or suggestion or share opinions and experiences, the action and the output or the concrete result doesn't come. So it is only through these meetings, only through these networking events, conferences, the actions, the concrete outcome comes out of all these conferences. So that's a really wonderful initiative that I felt.
Indeed, Thupten, and I thank your offices for giving me the opportunity, because through these conferences, I definitely believe what you say. Like, we meet a lot of other young Tibetans, sort of inspire each other when it comes to resolving the Tibet-China conflict. And when it comes to the Tibet-China conflict, like being a civil servant worker at the Central Tibetan Administration, how do you see the CTA can sort of bring changes when it comes to resolving the Tibet-China conflict, especially firstly to bring China to the negotiation table at the first place?
So as far as the resolution of Tibetan issue is concerned, I feel that all the stakeholders, like for example at the individual level, every Tibetan has to preserve their Tibetan identity, has to learn Tibetan language, has to preserve Tibetan culture. And every individual can shoulder the Tibetan responsibility. Doesn't matter where you live, if you live in US or Europe or Canada or wherever you are, you have to be a good ambassador for Tibet and be the voice for the voiceless Tibetan people inside Tibet, and try to shoulder that individual responsibility. At the individual level, we can do that, and also at the NGOs or the civil society organizations, we can engage with the like-minded organizations at the domestic level, national level, international level, and engage with them regarding the Tibetan issues, and also publish reports or research papers, and create awareness, engage with them. At the CTA level, the main work that CTA has been doing in the past is through dialogue and negotiation with the Chinese government representative. And it is only through the diplomacy and it is only through the negotiation and the dialogue that CTA is trying to resolve. So all these efforts at the individual level or at the NGO level or the CTA level, so all the efforts accumulate. So these cumulative efforts, it really leads and contributes to the resolution of Tibetan conflict. It is not only the CTA's job, it is concerned with every Tibetan, every NGO, civil society organization, and also the CTA.
Indeed, Thupten, you definitely hit a chord here, saying the resolving of the Tibet-China conflict is not only to the owners of the Central Tibetan Administration, but is the owners of every Tibetan out there.
Absolutely.
And you, specifically pointed out these sort of levels, and I hope that our audience can also take notice from it, and from the word go, continue and strive something for our movement. So, Thupten, moving away from all this now, you mentioned in your introduction that you took a 2-year sabbatical, but I would not mention that as a sabbatical, because during those 2 years you were one of the recipient of the prestigious Tibetan Scholarship Program that annually grants Tibetan refugees the opportunity to do further studies at the USA. Could you share with us about this very scholarship, your experiences, and how it has helped Tibetans and the Tibetan movement worldwide?
Yeah, so as you mentioned about the TSB, I've been incredibly blessed and fortunate to be one of the TSB scholarship recipient in the past. And personally, for me, just before that, I would like to explain what TSB stands for those who doesn't really know about TSB. TSB is a Tibetan Scholarship Program, and the U.S. government, State Department, every year they support 7 Tibetans, including one from Nepal, to pursue a graduate program in the United States at various universities and colleges in the United States. And I was the recipient of the TSB scholarship in 2020. So personally, the experience for me has been really wonderful. Not only that I have been able to hone and develop my academic skill, but also professionally also it has really helped me. And also being in the United States, as you know that US is home to a lot of different cultures, and so it's a very diverse, I think it's the most diverse nation on earth, right? So I've been able to meet lots of people from different countries through various events, meetings, and programs. So I've been able to share about our Tibetan culture, Tibetan traditions, and also about the Buddhism, and also at the same time learn from them about the culture. And also during my 2-year study program, I have been able to create awareness about the Tibetan issue on campus, on university campus, through various programs. So the experience has been really wonderful, and to get an opportunity to study in the United States for a Tibetan refugee kids like me, I feel that I'm really blessed to have been a part of this program.
Indeed, Thupten, definitely. And you rightly mentioned how you created awareness, and I remember it was also posted in the CTA's website about how you were wearing a Tibetan chupa in your own university and explaining what Tibet is to them. And I personally believe that these are sort of these small engagements which make a big impact when it comes to understanding Tibet.
And just to touch upon how it has impacted the Tibetan movement, the TSB Scholarship Program. The program has really contributed to the development of the quality of the human resource that we have in our Tibetan community. And TSB program that has been running for the past more than 30 years, and more than 450 Tibetan people Tibetan young people have participated in these programs, and they are right now serving. Many of them are serving at CTA. Many of them are serving at NGOs. Many have gone abroad and working for the Tibetan community through directly or indirectly. And this program, for example, in 2004, Office of Policy and Evaluation of the Educational Bureau of Culture and Education of the State Department. They conducted an assessment about the TSB program, and through that assessment there are many statistical figures to share, but one of the things that I want to share is 96% of the TSB awardees, they felt that because of the TSB experience, because of their experience in the United States, they had been able to contribute to the Tibetan community in a much more efficient and effective manner, like be it socially, be it politically, be it economically. So that's one statistic to share. So the TSB program has really contributed a lot to the Tibetan movement at large.
And on top of this, there is also the TSB alumni group, right? You guys do a lot of projects. Could you sort of share us what exactly this is, and what is your vision for the future?
Yeah, so TSB Alumni Association, and currently I have the privilege of serving as the vice president within this organization. And the main purpose of our alumni association is to help those young Tibetan people in India, Nepal, Bhutan who wants to join the TSB program, who wants to appear for the exam of TSB, and we help them, we mentor them, we guide them, create awareness about this wonderful opportunity among the Tibetan youth, and we do various programs like mentorship, awareness, as I mentioned, and also we create a lot of study material, we create a lot of awareness material, promotion material for the TSB, so that the awareness is reached at the wider level. So that's one of the main objective of TSB Alumni Association.
Indeed, Thupten. So with this and with your rich experience in serving the Tibetan community, what words of encouragement and messages do you have to them, especially the Tibetans who are working, be it the CTA, the NGOs, and other bodies, with all of them vision to bring Tibet to the fore?
Yeah, so as we know that no other refugee community in the world had the system and the structure of government or administration that we have established in India, and it is largely mainly because of the visionary leadership of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and also the contribution and efforts of the elder generations, and also with the support from the government and people of India, we have what we have right now. And to continue the legacy of our elder generation, it is very important that younger generation Tibetan people shoulder the responsibility through various platforms. It doesn't mean that you have to be in CTA to contribute towards the Tibetan issue. You can be anywhere, but you can work for Tibetan issue if you have a right mindset, as I mentioned before, if you have a right motivation. So there are many people like me who are working in the city, many young people, be it NGOs. I want to express my deep admiration and appreciation to all the people who are working in CTA or schools or NGOs, especially to those people whose work and whose efforts are unacknowledged, unnoticed. There are many people who are working behind the scene, not for the money, not for the position, not for the fame and name, but truly, genuinely, they are working for the Tibetan, like school teachers. There are many people whose work is unnoticed. So I want to express my deep admiration and appreciation especially to them.
Definitely, Thupten. And sorry to say, but we are running short of time. So even though I have a lot of more questions to ask you and touch upon, because you truly lived a wonderful life, experiencing what a normal Tibetan does not go through unless he or she joins the Central Tibetan Administration. So finally, I would like to ask you, what messages do you have to our fellow Tibetans worldwide, and especially the plethora of Tibet supporters who continue to stand in solidarity with us Tibetans?
Yeah. So first of all, to all the Tibet supporters all over the world, as an ITCO coordinator, we mainly work with Tibet support groups in India, right? So I want to thank and express my deep gratitude to all the Tibet supporters. As His Holiness the Dalai Lama has rightly said, if you are supporting Tibet, it's not that you are only supporting Tibetan movement. You're pro-justice. You're supporting. You're working for just cause. So I want to express my deep appreciation to them, and to all the Tibetans. It's really important that, as I mentioned before, to take up that individual responsibility And because, as I mentioned before, what we have is because many of the work that has been done in the past, right? So it's important to carry out that legacy and to keep the Tibetan struggle alive, the flame of the Tibetan movement alive. So it is really important. And when I was in the US, I have met quite a few people, and many people do really pay Green Book contributions. At least the least thing you can do if you're abroad, for the Tibetan issue is contribute your annual Green Book to the CTA. And even like when I was in the US, I've met a few people who boast of like, I pay $100 a year and to the CTA. And I told them that the CTA staff, we make more annual Green Book contribution than you, even though we are earning like $350 or $400 a month. So then I say that to the Tibetans abroad, the least you can do for Tibetan issue is pay your make annual contributions, and you're welcome to pay more than that also. So that's the request that I would like to make through this platform. And other than that, I don't have any special message or things to share. Yeah.
Thupten, like you certainly shared more than these few words like deep motivation, self-respect, and creating awareness. Like what you do is an inspiration to other Tibetan youths out there, and sort of guides us to what sort of capability that we are and what we can do. And I certainly believe through your own passionate work, many Tibetans would follow suit and continue to this part of resolving the Tibet-China conflict and bringing more awareness about Tibet to the world.
Absolutely,
So on that note, Thupten, thank you so much. You have a very busy schedule. Thank you for taking time from your good office and coming to our podcast session here and enlightening all us youths here. Thank you.
I wouldn't say enlightening, Damdul. I mean, it's an honor to be part of your program, and you have been also been taking quite a good initiatives, through your offices and through various other platforms also. And you lately, I've been noticing that you are really much, taking initiative when it comes to reaching out to young people. So what do you feel like what Tibetan youth needs to do more? What's your opinion?
I mean, Thupten, you just put the question to me. So, in my own opinion, like you've certainly observed, I've been taking part to these various programs. I've observed a lot of Tibetan youngsters coming and being part of these organizations, these meetings, these conferences. And one thing I certainly feel is that there is a drive. But where that drive needs to be pushed, that is the question there. I think if we are able to mold or set a path like what you have done through your own work, like many Tibetan youngsters would be seeing this program, I believe, and they would certainly know that, oh, this is something that we can do. So if they know the path where they can do something, I believe our youngsters, our Tibetan youth has the power to do a lot. And of late, we've been seeing how a lot of Tibetan youths have been taking part and been leading the Tibetan movement, for an example. And there are many who are behind the scene, for sure. I mean, their voices, their efforts, like what they do. I mean, you don't see them, but
absolutely.
they are more or less the same than you see these public figures who come out and say something. But there are a lot of Tibetan youths and even our elder generation. Like we need to highlight what they have done, I believe.
Absolutely, That's a really good note to end our podcast, your podcast. Thank you so much, Damdul. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more updates and videos by FNVA, click on the link and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.